Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to a special webinar today. Today, we're going to demystify AI, and we have several experts here on our panel today, including Chris Brown with Nvidia. We also have Atul here with HyperBound, and we have Jaw here with LiveX.ai. And without further ado, going from right to left, we would love if you guys can introduce what you do at your companies and tell us more about what your company does.
Sure. So I'll kick it off. I'm Chris. I work over on the Inception team at Nvidia. Inception is the sort of center point for startups to engage with Nvidia, and everything that we do is really centered around helping startups understand all the different tools and technologies that Nvidia makes available that startups might not be aware of. And that covers use cases around technologies as computer vision, recommender, medical imaging, physics simulation, and everything in between. So that's sort of what we do.
Great. Atul?
Yeah, I'm Atul. I'm the CTO and co-founder here at HyperBound. I'm also the CRO. Lots of jobs in the early stage startup. But what HyperBound does for sales reps is it lets them role play with a simulated buyer to get them practice on the sales conversations that they have. And for sales leaders, it helps give them visibility into the knowledge gaps that their team has.
Great. And Jaw? Oh, there she is. Must have been a crowd strike.
Hi,
Go ahead.
I'm Jia. I'm the co-founder and president and chief AI officer of LiveX.ai. We build AI agent to empower different businesses for their full loop of entire customer journey. I have been an AI technologist, have been in small and big companies, seeing different waves of AI. And of course, Gen AI is the most exciting, and hope to share more together with Chris, Atul, and Andy, like everyone.
Perfect. Yeah, so since we have a lot of experts here that have kind of been around the block a couple times, I guess you would say, with the AI space, people have been talking about AI for a long time, but it was only until recently that it actually became reality, so to speak. Why do you think that happened now? And this is really a question for the entire panel, so feel free to jump in.
I can kick it off here. I mean, I think that what we've seen is really a convergence of multiple factors, coming into play that allow people to recognize sort of the power that was always sitting there, potentially untapped. I think, you have what Nvidia has done in terms of like advancements in computing and just being able to create ever more powerful chips that allow you to process, ever larger amounts of data that much faster. But I think there was also something that was really triggering for a lot of people, right? Specifically around things like Midjourney and stability and ChatGPT, where you had AI starting to give people a sense of that vision around like, oh, artificial intelligence, like robots actually thinking. And I think when you have creative things or technologies people perceive as being creative, that gives people a different sense of potential and possibility. Like AI previously, because it's been, mostly a lot of like ultra heavy analytics and sometimes computer vision and things of that nature, it created a different impression when people were like, wow, art, right? Or somebody's like actually writing like text. Like that, those are the things where people look at it and say, this is fundamentally different than what we've seen before, because the outputs are something that are, I believe, like emotionally connected to how people see the world. So they finally saw us maybe like hitting an inflection point around that. I don't know, Atul, John, maybe you guys have different thoughts on that.
Pretty similar thoughts around the compute side of things. In fact, like a lot of the fancy AI models that folks are playing around with that went viral in the past couple of years have been ideas in researchers' heads for a long time, right? In fact, like I think the best example of this is that like neural nets were conceptualized long before anyone had the compute in order to run them. So like what's really unlocked this at the end of the day is the compute. But what's made it like take such a big part of the social psyche right now is just the fact that the average person can now create an AI application. It used to take an engineer, at the very least, if not a ML researcher, to do anything useful with the prior versions of AI modeling, and now the average Joe can go to chat.openai and get something useful out of it. So I think that's a big change.
Yep.
Totally. Yeah. Being in the field for decades already, and have seen different waves of AI. I think there are three aspects that are really, really different than how I feel in the past waves. First is the entry barrier is significantly lower. And I was teaching Gen AI at Stanford last year. More than 80% of the students are from GSB, the business school, or past CXOs or product managers. They're coding themselves. They're building demos. They're building code up, fancy prototypes themselves. So really, it lowers the entry barrier for everyone to build something inspiring because of the technology advancement. And second is if we think of the two most prominent advantages that Gen AI would have, one is really act human-like, right? So you can interact like a human. And that gives a lot of opportunity for us to transform the user interaction. Either it will be, hey, like how we interact with a product, or a service, or even hardware devices. So we can see a lot of opportunities and new features, innovations coming that way, right? And third, really because of the advancement of the technology, we start to see a lot of small companies because of the productivity it can generate. So that's why it's really exciting for both big advanced tech companies like Nvidia, as well as Hubspot, and as well as the small players, startups like what Atul have, or even LiveX.ai. So we're all excited about the innovation space, and I strongly believe that will come to every aspect of our life.
Very cool. So I guess if there is any businesses out there that are still unsure about AI, what would you say to them to clarify the opportunity and benefits, to tell them to just get on the bandwagon? This is for anybody if they want.
Sure. Oh, Joe, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I think that the reality is, like, there are, I sometimes frame it as like there are cycles and then there are epochs, right? And I think that I believe at least that we're entering like a new epoch in terms of how it is that we're going to be able to build new tools, and how it is that companies will be able to realize new capabilities with AI. I think a lot of the stuff that you've seen out there, the stuff that we talked about at the start, right, that creates that more like emotional connection, the creative pieces, those are going to be there, and those are going to continue to advance. But I think a lot of stuff that you're seeing that is having the most impact and seeing the most adoption right away are those tools that are a little bit less sexy and a little bit more like, HR and customer service and sales support, like areas where there's a lot of manual labor and a lot of heavy lifting, and AI. And this is something that I'm always really, really clear about. I think that anybody who's looking at AI and saying like it's just a great way to not have to worry about like having people do these things, but instead what you should be thinking about as a business is it's become pretty clear that AI is a multiplication factor, right? An amplifier of all of the talent that you already have internally, and it allows them to do more. And you should be leveraging AI in that way, as opposed to thinking about it in terms of purely just like efficiencies or cost cutting or anything of that nature, because it's in amplifying the skills that you already have and the people that you already have that you're going to see the most success. And certainly I think where I've seen the most interesting stuff come out of.
Great point. Anybody else?
Yeah, I felt in the past, people have been thinking about, for example, the user experience or customer experience perspective. They have been thinking about, hey, like in the current setup, how this could help us increase revenue or decrease, cost, right? But there are a lot of things that AI can do that in the past, because of the lack of technology or lack of the quality of the technology, we're not able to do it, right? Think of, in the VIP experience, in many of the either travel, hotel, etc., right? So everybody wants a VIP experience, but you won't be able to give that to everyone due to the limitation of either the resource or the understanding about the customer's needs, right? So that makes it, Gen AI, because of the capability of human-like interaction, because of the capability of connecting the dots when there are siloed information, then you can really make that happen at scale, right? Of course, leveraging computation power and the scalable technology. So I think that has been undervalued, and we will see more of that down the road.
Awesome. Anything to add to that, Atul?
I would say that AI is really proving itself, over the past couple of years, to be a foundational technology. In the same way that giving everyone on your team a laptop was a foundational thing. I really think that it's going to weave its way into every part of every business. And if you're unsure about how someone in your segment should be using AI, go look to the new startups in your space and see how they're thinking about it from the ground up, right? Like, these people are solving the same problems that you are, but they're taking a first principles approach to it with the latest tech. Go take a look at what they're doing, and that typically is a pretty good barometer. They're usually a little too over ambitious. They might not be solving the problem as well as you are right now, but they are making some strides. So it's a good barometer to see where we'll be headed in 5 years.
Yeah, that's a great point too. And I love that you guys mentioned that it's more of a productivity tool as opposed to a replacement. So try to find ways where you can incorporate AI into improving processes, speeding things up, and enhancing what humans are capable of doing. But that is a good point as well too, Atul. Sometimes larger companies might have more red tape for rolling out new initiatives, and especially new technology, right? You have to run it by the lawyers first. But startups, they have to they have to get to market. They have to build something quickly. So they have to be very innovative in order to get the product out there and be able to compete in the market space. So like you mentioned, many times they're the first ones to adopt a lot of these new technologies and roll them out. So definitely keep an eye on the startups that are out there bubbling up, starting to make a lot of noise, because they're going to be the first movers that really adopt this technology. So with that, Atul, I have another question for you as well. So you have a strong background building AI platforms. So how, in your experience, how has it changed related to that over the last 10 years? Like, how was it 10 years ago compared to now? I would assume that it's, a lot more quickly, a lot quicker, and the cycles are a lot smaller.
So going back to Jai's answer to the first question here, to do what we're doing today at HyperBound with conversational AI, to do it just 3 years ago, not even 10 years ago, would have required a team 10 times our size and all NLP PhDs, like natural language processing, PhDs. Now, I'm the only machine learning engineer on HyperBound, and we're able to do the same things. There was 2 years of research I did at Carnegie Mellon on comparing and contrasting patents to identify patent infringement, right? 2 years of research. I could do that in a week now. right? Like I was using the precursor technologies to GPT. Like this was the stuff that turned into GPT. Like some of these like transformer models is really the evolution that we're using right now, and it's really just night and day. Just in just the last 3 years, let alone 10, right? Like so many things that required expertise, like designing and building ML systems, like labeling data sets, like dozens of hours of model training for really basic applications can now be done with a really simple prompt to GPT.
And where do you see it, I guess, 5 or 10 years from now, based on how fast everything's kind of moving forward and developing? This is a question from the audience, actually. Hugo, he would like to know kind of where we're going to be 5 or 10 years from now. Kind of a big question, but do you have any insights into that?
I mean, I definitely have some theories, right? I think as compute evolves, really the limiting factor right now is compute. I think what's going to change is AI is going to expand into modalities beyond text, right? Like it already has started. And we're just seeing the first steps in these other modalities. But like AI processing text has already allowed us to tap into so many applications, right? As AI starts really harnessing images and video and the combination of text, images, video, and audio all together, right? The applications like growth is exponential.
Yeah, and I happen to know a company that might be kind of at the forefront of that. Chris, so you guys work a lot with startups, right, over at the Nvidia Inception program. Can you explain more about how you guys are kind of building the foundation for startups to get more involved with AI? What kind of services do you guys offer for both startups and for VCs?
Sure. So, as I alluded to at the start, Inception is really what I sometimes term the navigator inside of NVIDIA to help startups understand the right tools and the right sort of points of expertise. I frame things in terms of use cases. So when a startup comes in, the first thing that we need to figure out is like, what are you actually doing? Because we take the compute side for granted, right? We're in this really nice position of we don't have to sell anything. We don't really worry about GPUs. We know that comes naturally based on the success of startups. So how do we help them be more successful? And that success comes from saying, all right, you're building a computer vision application. You should probably use our computer vision engine. It's super optimized. It has pre-trained models already. It's a really great tool to save yourself a bunch of development time where you're not solving a problem that's already been solved. Or it could be you're building a recommender framework and you're trying to figure out like, how can I integrate these millions or billions of data points into a recommender to like have like the exact right outputs. These are tools that we already have in place. We have over 150 different SDKs covering a whole host of use cases, right? And those two are just really starting points. We have, a huge chunk of our work happens in healthcare and biotech. We have a whole bunch of stuff around robotics. So all of these are tools that startups might not be aware of that can save them immense amounts of development time. So our goal is to say, hey, here's some learning systems that you can tap into to understand all the different tools that are available. Once you get to a certain point of sort of strategic evolution, sort of market traction, you also get access to individual relationships where you can connect with, say, the product managers or industry business development people to go a little bit more deeply and to ideally help you with go-to-market over the long term. So we want people to come in, understand the technology that they're using, give them the right tools to learn about and to access and to adopt those technologies, and then move them into a point where they're growing in the market. And then we amplify and support that growth. And that could be like direct relationships on the enterprise side, but it could also be things like amplifying through social media, getting them up on stage at GTC, putting them on panels at events that we're doing. We have a big presence at SIGGRAPH that's happening in, I think, just a week, where we've got a bunch of startups that we've brought in that we want to show off to all of the different enterprises and customers that are going to be there. So it's a multifaceted approach. And one of the complexities about what we do is that because we're not a transactional program, it's a little bit more nuanced to explain what we do. Because I can't come in and say, I have a cloud infrastructure and you get credits. And then once you're done with credits, you just pay us money. It's like, well, we're like, you can download a lot of our tools off of GitHub for free and we'll never know about it. Right. And that's sort of one of the things that we kind of try to do is focus on that awareness piece so that people are able to do a lot of that self-service stuff themselves, and then truly identify those winners out of the overall community and then help amplify them in terms of go to market. So it's a multifaceted, complex thing, but that's how we try to approach things.
That sounds like a fun role. And I guess, Jot, so you've been involved at the university level and at a leadership level at many companies. How do you see them, both at the educational level and at the corporate level? How do you see them going about implementing new AI strategies?
Yeah, I felt the university will keep innovating, and nowadays we also see a lot of big and small companies really embrace AI as all in AI, right? So we have, I think one thing that is different than in the past is really like it is every company, every sector, they're thinking about the AI, right? So in the past, when I was leading Google's full stack of enterprise AI product at Google Cloud, I learned a lot with different industries, CXOs, and at that time, really like developers and enterprises, they benefit a lot from AI functions in the last few years. But Gen AI, we have seen even small companies, SMBs, and companies without AI expertise, like those either your retail companies who are selling products online, or your SaaS companies, you're providing softwares to consumers, or SMBs. Even if you have less people, less expertise in AI, it's much easier to find partners. It's much easier to find product that can serve your purpose. In this case, right? Whereas in the past, for example, we have product that requires over 100 of people to develop. And on the other side, only clients with over hundreds of people's IT or engineering team are able to leverage such a product. Essentially, I felt the capability of Gen AI to connect the dots and really scale to every companies, big and small, would change and transform different industries. And as I mentioned, this is everybody is embracing it, although they have different strategy from their point of view, right? So some of the big companies, they will think about hire and build, right? Some of the smaller companies, they would be eager to be fast to market, and to show either to their customers immediately what's the benefit, or to stakeholders that they also have AI strategy and AI advancement. So I can see this is across different sectors, and it's very exciting time to see how much innovation and impact that Gen AI is bringing to different industries.
Yeah, so there's a big theme there about rent versus, build yourself. And as you mentioned, if you're looking to get to market more quickly and you don't have, the huge development resources to maybe roll out your own features, you might be able to just rent a tool or a feature for now as you continue to build your company. I guess what other tips would the rest of the panel offer for anybody that's looking to dive into developing an AI strategy? What are some simple first steps that they can take to roll out artificial intelligence within their organization in a meaningful way?
I'd say the best thing you could do to both get that groundswell within your organization, get your execs noticing what you're doing, is to build an MVP, right? Get one engineer on this to build the simplest, crappiest version of the product you can get out in a week. Because the magic is really there, right? Even a bad version of the AI, people empathize with these AI models in a way that you haven't seen with previous technology, where they really start to see the vision. So yeah, like the simplest step you can take is just put something out there. You'll find it's a lot easier than trying to convince people on the merits of what you're trying to do.
Chris, what do you think?
It's sort of, I mean, this question is actually related to a question I think we discussed in our initial conversation, before the, in preparation. To me, it actually connects with this idea of like, how do you differentiate between sort of the relevance of like, oh, somebody who's just tapping into existing tools that are out there versus people who are building their own. And my default is always to come back to, are you addressing a really important need, and are you doing it in a way that like resonates with customers? And so there's a lot of like AI that I think is going to end up being really successful that people are never going to have any conception is like it's an AI tool. It's just like, oh no, like the customer experience is just better now, and I can't really put my finger on it, but it turns out behind the scenes there's now a bunch of new systems that a company may have adopted around understanding a little bit more about the types of things that a particular customer wants, or being able to communicate with them in whatever sort of medium is relevant to them. So my advice is always understand the things that right now are a bad experience for your customer. I believe that everything like in business comes down to like core customer needs and core customer experience, and whatever is your biggest hurdles around like, like our customers just struggle with getting this account set up, or communicating on a customer service basis, or whatever that might be. Being able to identify, all right, what are the tools that we can, as Atul noted, what are the tools that we can experiment with, maybe build an MVP around that can try and address that particular need. So that you're not building something as just a technology experiment, but you're building something as a relevant thing for your customers.
Got it. Yeah, and is there any faux pas, I guess, with that people should be aware of for artificial intelligence? Like, is there a wrong way to do it?
I mean, I can start on that one. I think the thing that I also sort of noted earlier is that a lot of people have thought about this and been concerned about like, oh, like it's just a way to replace human beings. And I think, as I said before, that's absolutely the wrong way to look at it, because you need people to be able to continue to provide ultimately the outputs that allow you to refine models. And those outputs are human creativity and human experience, right? So all of these models that are out there right now that people are amazed by and excited by, they're all driven by content that has been created by human beings. And if you cut off that sort of pathway of like, well, we need to be able to constantly train new models and to build out new functionality and opportunity for these models, you have to have like the talent that can do that. And so I would say the biggest faux pas is looking at AI as a replacement for human beings as opposed to an amplifier.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times with that too is that when people are trying to push it through and just use it as a replacement tool, it ends up creating a bad customer experience, right?
Oh,
like having a chat feature where you just throw some AI on it,
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden your customers are not getting the answers to the questions that they have. It's a terrible customer experience. So really thinking through it and maybe starting small. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Roll out one AI initiative and then kind of expand outwards from there. And Shaw, did you get that last question, or do you want us to go through it again?
I can add a little bit to what Chris and Andy mentioned. I felt it is important to leverage the complementary aspect of AI to any like existing framework, and always good to have land and expand type of strategy. Think of even in the customer experience perspective, right? So if you think of the off hours, what if you think of the immediate response, right? So in the past, the behavior of the users or expectations of the users will be dramatically different than what they have today, right? So in the past, if I got a problem with some of the product or device I have, I would either make phone call, or wait for a few minutes or a few possibly hours on the line, or I would, if for non-emergency problems, I would send an email and file a ticket and wait for days to get the answers, right? So accuracy and the latency of Gen AI, in our case, AI agent, is very, very critical, right? So that's why, we have been collaborating with Nvidia and Google Cloud, that we actually are able to speed up our product over 6 times. So which makes it possible for real-time AI agent to be accurate and interactive, right? So there is a lot of tech advancement as well as product refining, iteration, innovation in the direction. But I'm pretty confident that AI agent and Gen AI technology, the amount of benefit that can bring to both the business as well as the users would be significant.
Yep, and I think we have 2 really great examples here. Both of your guys as startups, actually, I think are a great example of how to utilize AI in a way that enhances human activities, right? And one aspect, training salespeople for Atul's company, and then in terms of yours, adding to the customer experience. Would you guys like to be able to maybe explain more about what your guys' companies do so people can understand how you guys are utilizing AI, even with your own platforms, to kind of enhance existing processes that exist in companies today? Go ahead, Shaw.
Yeah, since I'm on it, I can elaborate a little more. We believe AI would change and transform the experience, how the users or the customers, consumers would interact with products, service, and even like hardware devices. And in the past, it is very hard to provide a VIP experience that is, people would know what you would love to purchase a product that is suitable for your personal needs. And also, when they purchase the products, when they go home, you only have a menu or some kind of online FAQs you can look in order to navigate how to use it or how to triage some of the problems. And when the users get stuck or super unhappy about the experience, that is then you reach out to the customer support, right? But we felt these roles shouldn't be siloed. In fact, in order to provide a holistic, personalized VIP experience, we would love the AI that can help you to understand your needs from the business perspective. Then it helps foster the leads conversion and also recommendation of products, right? And we also believe once we understand what you have purchased, then there should be almost a VIP companion to the users to guide them how to use the product and discover new features and give them update about how to enjoy the best benefits from the products. And in this way, then the users would enjoy the customer journey instead of end up as a super unhappy customers, which will reach out to the customer support poor customer support team with angry emails, angry phone calls. We believe that's the future of customer experience, and that's the future of AI agent can play a role throughout the entire customer journey. And with AI agent, with Gen AI, this is not only for companies with super talented AI engineers only, right? This can be impactful for small companies or mid-sized companies or enterprise companies who have focus on their core business instead of hey, like we hire another team to build AI agent for customer experience. I felt it's very important for us to understand the importance of Gen AI agent, and also it is critical for companies to start engaging with such advanced technology, so that there could be a data flywheel effects. The more that it interact with the users, the more it can, the better it can serve the customers. So that's the philosophy of our LiveX.ai, and right now we have been building AI agents for pre-sale, for product education, for customer support. And many of the companies we collaborate, they do follow the land and expand. They start with one of the feature, and I really enjoy pre-sale for me to convert better convert leads, and then they realize, hey, it is not transactional. Because it already understands your product. Then I want to leverage this to help the users to better use it and to support the customer experience. So that's how we are currently collaborating with the customers, and we believe, as Atul mentioned, AI agents would have huge potential, especially when there is multimodal capabilities that AI agent can show you how you can follow different instructions, and you can assemble your furniture together. You can use your fancy electronics, etc., etc. Or you can interact with it when there are more convenient way of, for example, speaking, right? So, for example, we are collaborating with some of the medical device companies, and many of their customers are seniors or patients, and it is much more convenient for them to speak and interact with the AI agent than typing and reading through the guidance in, for example, in their current physical copy of menus, how to use it, right? And yeah, this is just the beginning, and there could be huge potential down the road.
Great. And Atul, so can you kind of go into how you guys are using artificial intelligence at your company? And tell us more about your background too, like how you kind of transitioned from more of a technical role to more of a sales role, and kind of what inspired you to start HyperBound.
Yeah, absolutely. It all really boils down to one thing. Sales calls are hard. Sales calls are really, really hard to get right, especially to lead from the perspective of the sales rep, right? And where we see AI fitting in here is AI is going to transfer all of the knowledge and the skills that you can impart upon it into a rep. And the best way to do that is role plays, where the AI is pretending to be the customer and the rep is doing their job. And the AI is continually offering coaching and feedback to mold the rep into the top performers that we already know exist within a company. We are building like the first platform that really lets you replicate your top performers by giving anyone else at your company the practice and the experience that they need without burning real customers, without practicing on those real prospects, to get the experience that they need to perform better, right? At the core of HyperBound is that we believe in humans, right? We believe in building human confidence. We believe in that humans are going to be involved in the sales process. And we're betting the farm on it, right? So this is all we do, is that we train and we enable these sales reps to be better versions of themselves. And going back to like how HyperBound was founded and where we got this idea, it's because of how frustrated leaders are with their sales teams, right? We spoke to like dozens upon dozens of CROs, VPs of sales before we entered the space. My background is in a little bit of GTM. Like I was on the Meta Ads team. I was affiliated with the space. I knew all these folks. They just shared such almost contempt for their sales team, right? Because they came
Tell
out
me
with
about
this
marketing,
product.
guys.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Product marketing for especially. They knew what their sales team needed to be doing, but the thing is, you're taking someone specifically with the SDR role, right, who's just out of college, likely knows very little about your product, and you're putting them in front of a decision maker at a company. You're putting them in front of an exec, and you're asking them to represent you well. That's a crazy challenge, and the way that they learn right now is by screwing up hundreds of these conversations, right? Which is not fair to them.
Burning a ton of leads.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like millions of dollars of pipeline out the window and your confidence shattered. Right. There's a reason why the average tenure for a sales rep is just a year. It's a mentally brutal role. And all coaching happens as postmortems after you've lost the deal. Not a good spot to be in. All right. So when we thought about where, like, how we would approach this problem, like first principles, right, with the technology available to us now, it's let's put these folks in a sandbox. Let's identify exactly what their struggles are. Let's not only just identify that, but explain to them what the root cause for that is, and immediately how to address it, and to give them the practice they need to address it. So that's HyperBound.
So you could avoid that embarrassing part of the trial by fire, if you will. You could just simulate the experience and learn the product before, going out there and burning leads and having a couple maybe embarrassing moments with your clients. Very powerful stuff there. Chris, you've been in the industry for a long time. You've had a lot of roles. You've launched startup accelerators. Now you're running the program over there. You've been through a lot of technology cycles. How would you say this technology cycle is different and similar to other technology cycles that you've seen in the past?
I used the term cycle versus epoch earlier because I think that there's very much a truth there, right? Cycles are things that just repeat themselves over and over without the fundamentals necessarily changing, and epochs are those points in history where there are fundamental changes that occur within a society, within a market, within a company, et cetera. I think, right now, I think we are still at a point where like, oh yeah, this isn't a new epoch of tech. And obviously tech epochs don't have the same scale as civilizational epochs, but it's still an enormous shift that we're seeing. But at the same time, there are certain things that will always be true. I always like to maintain a focus on the fact that startups are businesses solving problems. And we've seen a lot of people over the last year to 2 years be like, we're an AI startup doing X, Y, Z. And if you think back to like 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, for those of you who remember that, if anyone remembers the term like mobile startup, right, which is
Yes.
a ridiculous idea that means nothing, right? It's like, oh, you can use us with a phone. It's like, okay, that's just like an interaction modality. That's not actually a fundamental shift. And so a lot of people who are saying like, oh, we're AI for X, we're AI for Y, AI for your cat, AI for balloons. The reality is we still have just companies enabled by a new technology, and the way that I frame it, and I don't believe I came up with this. I think smarter people than I did, but this was back during like 2015, 2016, right? Still kind of the starting point of AI, and I was running an AI program. It was like an incubator here in New York, and one of the investors that we worked with, he had a perfect description of this, which is that like AI, just like mobile, it's just a layer. right? All these things are just layers within the overarching business, and like your AI is a layer. So like you're an AI company only in the sense that at this point everybody is an AI company, and if you're not an AI company right now, you probably don't have a bright future in your fundraising, like going forward, and like that's just the reality. So like AI is just a layer for everybody. So your differentiation needs to come from your the key elements of your product, right? And how people respond to that. So yes, we go through cycles, but and yes, I think this is a new era from a technology perspective. But from a business perspective, like the fundamentals of what human beings need and how human beings want to interact with companies has not changed. And so getting too lost in tech features and specific like functionality when you're talking to customers is going to cause an eye glazing moment with them that where you're going to lose them. And so pulling it back and saying like, we will help you train your sales reps like far more efficiently and much faster and create better results, or we will help you like develop agents for a whole host of different customer service use cases. Like that's what we do. Yes, we use AI and NLP and maybe avatars and like other cool technology underneath that. But when you're talking as a startup, and hopefully there's startups here, or even as large enterprises, right? When you're talking to your customers, they still need to understand, well, yeah, how are you going to make my life better? Right. And that how does not involve like, well, we have a specific model that does like X, Y, Z. No, like we just sort of make all that disappear. And like your life just becomes better. So like that's how I think about that sort of cycle versus epoch question.
Yeah, that's a great point, actually. And I've seen that, I've been a founder myself and I've worked with many startups over the years. And, ultimately people care about what you can do for them. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. Right.
And,
so if AI just happens to be how you do it.
And this era is a little bit interesting because it's so technology heavy, right? Because the depth of experience and training that has gone into a lot of machine learning engineers, as everybody else on this call, I'm sure knows, it's something that I've seen a little bit more often with founders in the current phase where they're like, oh yeah, like I'm building this amazing tech. And it's like, well, cool. Who are you selling it to and how are you messaging that out? Like, what are your distribution channels and what's your sales process? And like, how do you make this repeatable? And so I think every startup and every enterprise needs to understand that like being able to talk to customers has not changed. It's just that the tools that enable you to do that have become better.
I always say to like your product, love your customer, right? And if you're building a product to genuinely help customers, you'll have a much better chance of finding product market fit because you really understand what the customer needs, as opposed to just building a feature and saying, I hope people like this. They should like this feature. I built it.
It's super cool. Look at it. Isn't it so neat? It was so, what a great problem I solved. It's like, well, yeah, but does anybody need that? Or did that just make you happy on the inside?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly how, even for the product management role, it's very, very important to have that interdisciplinary expertise, right? So you need to understand customers' pain point. You need to also learn fast on the AI aspects, so the boundary or the tech limitation, so that you will design a product that satisfies that needs, right? So even, for example, for AI agent, right now, can you believe there are tens of millions of AI agents that have been built already? Like many of them are, fancy demos or, even, some toy examples, right? But there is absolutely like limitation to the technology. And if you care about, even the accuracy and the latency perspective, right? So if you care a lot about both sides, you need to really optimize it to the best standard, right? So if you can only optimize for one, right, then you need to consider, hey, like what could be the feasible product on top of that, right? So if you care a lot about accuracy and less about the product. Maybe you can leverage AI agent to generate a report, generate slides, or for internal use cases. But if you care a lot about speed and less about accuracy, okay, you can apply it to less mission critical tasks like chit chat, have fun, inspiring, etc. Right? So there is not only the technology advancement. No one is saying, okay, hey, we already reaches the AGI, and here I can meet all the customer needs, right? And then along the path towards the really intelligent, advanced AI, there would be a lot of milestones which we can still leverage. We can still, innovate in order to meet the customers where they are.
That's a great point. Atul, do you have anything to add to that too, or?
Yeah. I mean, I would say that the best indicator that a startup is headed towards new successful application of AI is if they can leave AI out of their marketing material and sell the product the same way. Right? If you can sell the problem you're solving without mentioning the technology that you're using to get there, and your customer still resonates with that problem, then you're headed towards the solution.
I'm going to steal that for the next pitch contest that I judge. I'm like, okay, I'm going to have a separate category for, cool, did you pitch this whole thing and I never heard the word AI? And if that happens, then I know that you're probably, and I still think it's interesting, then you're probably onto something cool.
Yeah, it's not what you do, it's how you do it, but you don't need to brag about the AI aspect of it. Same with the hockey stick growth charts you got to throw into those VC decks too, right? Look, it's going to be a successful business probably. I mean, it's got a hockey stick growth chart, these are predictions only, of course, but projections, don't take them seriously. But I guess the point of today's webinar was to demystify AI. So we had a great question from our audience member, Alexander here. He wants to know where he could actually pick up more information about artificial intelligence, where to stay up on the news. And the biggest thing for him is avoiding all the noise out there. He wants really good quality information. Where would you recommend him and other viewers to be able to go to get the right information from the right people?
I'll leave this up to you two, because I think I cheat by being at Nvidia, because we have this amazing culture of people really sharing the research that they're doing, research that they see, stuff that they're doing with customers. So we all have pretty clear visibility into a lot of different things that are happening, and that's just in our email inbox. So for Alexander, the answer for me is my inbox from cool Nvidians.
What's on that newsletter? Just kidding.
I equally also don't have a very helpful answer here, and I'm sorry, Alexander. So the way that I get my news is just by talking to folks. My entire network happens to be machine learning engineers. I'm building an AI startup in San Francisco. I live 3 blocks from the Y Combinator office here. So I get my information all secondhand. I mean, there was a point when I was doing my master's and afterwards when I would actively go and seek out that information. But I feel like those sources are just so hopelessly out of date already, even though just a few years ago. Right now, I'm just relying on my network.
Yeah, that's why it's good to talk to people in the field too, right? Whether it's at events or joining webinars like this, because you get to hear from people that are really in the field actually doing the work, not just what sounds good for media headlines, to kind of put out there about AI. It's actually people with the real working experience with artificial intelligence. Joe,
Yeah, I think those 2 resources are secret resources, right? But I want to be a little bit more helpful here. I do leverage LinkedIn as well. So mainly I felt, especially it's a professional network that people are sharing. What people are sharing, they are taking it more serious, right? And second, if you are connecting with credible, and trustworthy, people that you feel, okay, they have good understanding, of AI that can significantly reduce the noise out there, right? So I do personally leverage my friends and my connections. I trust their judgment, and I see good content from there.
Great place to start would be to probably follow the panelists here today. Probably not me, I don't post anything interesting, but if you guys want to learn more about artificial intelligence, definitely make sure you add our fellow panelists here on your LinkedIn and connect with their companies as well. And I know we're getting up to the hour here, so I'd love if you guys could kind of do another roundtable to kind of talk more about how people can learn more about your company and maybe what's next for each of your companies and programs. In terms of Chris Brown's program over there. Starting with Chris, I guess, in the upper right, would you like to give us that sales pitch again about what NVIDIA for Startups can do for people and how they can learn more about you guys?
Sure. So the easiest thing to do is to start off by just joining Inception. We're very open to everybody who comes in. We're a non-transactional program. Everything we do is focused on education and community and awareness and evangelism. So first off, join Inception. In terms of next steps, we are, things like this are a good example of like all the stuff that we want to add in around, adding more sort of workshops and like specific like technology, like learnings and workshops for folks who are in Inception. We started to do those around some of our new technologies that we've been building, and we're going to continue to add those on. But there's also a lot of opportunity that we want to build in around learning from like the community itself. As well as new benefits that we're going to be adding in from, things like cloud service providers and other like technology providers. So, I would say that anything that you want to be able to build where NVIDIA is going to be involved, and if it involves AI, that's pretty much everything. That you should take part in Inception, and then we're a very responsive program. So anytime you need something, like, reach out to us, and, we'll be there to sort of help guide you to the right resources and ideally the right people and points of expertise in NVIDIA that can really, hopefully take you to the next level as a startup.
Great. And we'll be posting all the links too in the LinkedIn event page here. So keep an eye on the comments section, everybody.
And as you come in and as you join through this, Andy and Daniel, I think we'll work out some way to kind of get an awareness of like, hey, I was at the webinar and I signed up, because then we can hopefully use that to speed you up through the application process.
Yeah, and if anybody also has any questions about any of these programs, maybe some of their platforms, or just even follow-on questions that weren't answered during the interview, feel free to post them right into that LinkedIn page, and I'll make sure I put it in front of all of them. We get you guys answers for those. So happy to take all of your questions. Just post them onto the LinkedIn page. We'll be happy to take care of this for you guys. Joe, if you can.
Yeah, so for first-hand experience with NVIDIA's Inception program, very, very positive, and we definitely have been having great collaboration on the AI agent perspective. Without the software and the hardware optimization, it is very hard to create real-time interactive AI agent. So really want to shout out and hats off to NVIDIA and the Inception program. Encourage more of you to apply. And back to LiveX.ai, because of that, we are able to empower the businesses who really care about their customer experience. We have been collaborating with businesses who have tens of millions or hundreds of millions of customers and consumers, and we felt there has been really burning needs that such companies can really elevate their experience, customer experience, to the next level. And we are marching towards what is that VIP experience for everyone, for every user in the future, for customer experience throughout the entire customer journey, and towards the human-like interaction that is multimodal, that you can see, you can hear, and you can the AI agent can see and hear, show, and of course chat. So that we hope would transform how the consumers would interact with businesses, their customer experience, their product service, and in the future there might be AI native hardware. So a lot to be done, and we are grateful to have partners like Nvidia, like Hubspot, and many others.
Perfect. Atul?
Yeah, and likewise about HyperBound, right? We're so excited to be where we are right now, right? We are as far as I can tell, we're one of the few sales tech companies that are focused on optimizing the quality of sales activity as opposed to the quantity of sales activity, right? Our future, right, is to have is to be in a place where our customers attribute their promotion to us. Like, we've already seen this a couple times where sales reps will be like, I would not have gotten promoted if it was not for HyperBound helping me hit the targets that I want to hit. Right? We want to be a like comforting blanket for sales reps. It really coaches them through this whole process. That is in reality very difficult. And yeah, we're very grateful for our partners over at HubSpot and all of our existing customers. We're growing very rapidly, and we're hiring soon as well. So just wanted to put that out there. If you want to learn more about HyperBound and you want to try it out yourself, we have a free no credit card demo over at HyperBound.ai. It's a lot easier than me trying to pitch it to you. You can just go have a conversation with one of our very rude personalities and get a very good feel for what it can be like to be on one of those sales calls.
Well, I noticed that. I'm like, what, do you hire a bunch of New Yorker AI agents here or something?
You're not from the Midwest, I can tell you that.
Amazing. Well, everybody, thank you so much for coming on today. I'm Karuza with NachoNacho. We're the B2B SaaS marketplace. We have a lot of great partners here. Also, special shout out for Dan over at HubSpot for Startups for helping organize this event today. I think a lot of great tips and knowledge came out of this. So feel free to definitely check out their websites. We're posting the links there, like I mentioned, on LinkedIn, the LinkedIn Live event. So please visit their websites, learn more about their companies. And if you have any follow-on questions, we'd be happy if you post those right into LinkedIn as well. We'll organize those later, and we'll send them out to the panelists here and get you guys some answers there. But once again, thanks everybody for joining this great webinar on AI, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.